Welcome to this explainer. Picture this. The year is 2026. The world's most devastating conflicts aren't being fought with tanks, jets, or boots on the ground. No, they are happening in absolute silence, at speeds our human brains literally can't even comprehend. And the soldiers? Well, they aren't human. As this quote perfectly puts it, no explosions, no battlefields, no warning sirens, just algorithms fighting algorithms. It's a pretty chilling summary of modern warfare, right? We are so incredibly used to thinking about conflict in highly physical terms. But today, the absolute most consequential battles are completely silent and entirely digital.
Which brings us to a massive, high-stakes question for this explainer. What actually happens when machines attack machines? For the absolute first time in technological history, we aren't just dealing with a group of human hackers typing away in a basement. We're dealing with AI systems capable of launching devastating strikes in milliseconds, while defensive AI works around the clock just to stop them. We are talking about fully autonomous war.
So let's dive into Section 1, the silent AI cyber war and the new threat landscape. When we dive into the research, like the incredible work from Claudia Alexandra Gabrian, we can see the sheer scale of the new advantage attackers have. Basically, AI gives hackers a massive strategic edge for pulling off incredibly fast, completely undetected strikes. They're literally using machine learning to boost the impact of their attacks, hide their tracks, and exploit system weaknesses way faster than any human operator ever could.
Think of it like giving a street pickpocket the tools and strategic mastermind of an elite bank robber. Because AI drastically lowers the barrier to entry, what used to take a whole coordinated team of veteran hackers can now be pulled off by just one relatively inexperienced attacker using the right AI tools. We're talking about generating hyper-realistic phishing emails in seconds. They can auto-scan massive corporate networks for vulnerabilities instantly. They can even write complex, malicious code without really knowing how to program. And they can launch adaptive attacks that pivot and evolve in real time. It makes cybercrime infinitely faster, much more scalable, and a whole lot more dangerous.
But here's the kicker. These attackers aren't just working solo anymore. They are teaming up. According to the 2025 Trend Micro APT report, Advanced Persistent Threats, or APTs, are completely ditching the siloed approach. They've moved on to a business model called Premier Pass as a Service. Yes, you heard that right. Cybercriminals literally have B2B software models now. One group will break in, establish network access, and then just hand off or sell the keys to another group that actually executes the exploit. This collaboration shrinks the response window for human defenders to practically zero. By the time someone notices a breach, the handoff is done, and the attack is already tearing through the system.
All right, moving on to Section 2, Geopolitics and State Actors. To really grasp the global chessboard here, the 2025 APT report breaks down three very distinct strategic AI postures driven by geopolitics. First, China is operating as a full-stack anchor. They are building this entirely self-sustaining AI ecosystem that lets them compute at a massive scale, completely independent of international sanctions. Then you have North Korea acting as an asymmetric saboteur, heavily leaning on AI to automate cybercrime specifically to fund state goals, like their missile programs. And meanwhile, Russia has adopted a sovereign fortress approach. They are heavily applying AI to warfare and state surveillance while relying on allied tech support to make up for their own hardware constraints. It's an incredibly complex web where geopolitical motivations are directly driving how this tech gets used.
Let's transition to Section 3, doers, not just watchers.
So, with state actors and these advanced hacker syndicates moving at absolute machine speed, human defenders simply cannot keep up anymore. Enter the AICA, the Autonomous Intelligent Cyber Defense Agent. This isn't just a system that rings a digital fire alarm, it is the firefighter. It autonomously fights the fire at machine speed, and it never, ever needs to sleep. The research shows that these agents stealthily monitor, detect, and neutralize cyber threats entirely on their own.
This represents a fundamental paradigm shift from mere watchers to active doers. For years, we relied on traditional tools that just flagged anomalies and waited for a human IT pro to step in and fix it. Now, we are shifting toward Agentic AI that can actively plan a response, execute defenses, and completely recover systems in the literal blink of an eye. To make this incredibly concrete, consider the unmanned tank scenario outlined in our source material. Picture a fully autonomous tank on a modern battlefield. Suddenly, its communications get completely jammed by the enemy, and a highly sophisticated malware infiltrates its onboard computers. There's no human soldier sitting inside to fix it, and zero way to call remote IT support. In a life-or-death scenario like this, the tank's absolute only chance of survival is a local, onboard artificial defender, an AGICA, that can instantly and autonomously fight back, quarantine the virus, and keep that tank rolling.
But as you can imagine, handing the keys over to an autonomous doer requires some seriously rigorous safety standards. The Center for Security and Emerging Technology actually outlines 6 core requirements for building trustworthy AI defenders. These systems must have adaptability, auditability, and observability. But most critically, they need ironclad security to protect themselves, the transferability to actually work in real-world messy environments, and directability, meaning a human operator can always step in and pull the plug if things go sideways. And let me tell you, building a system that checks all 6 of those boxes is an absolutely immense technical challenge.
Which brings us right into Section 4, the ethical and legal maze. Here is where we hit a massive moral conflict, often called the dual-purpose dilemma. The exact same AI infrastructure that you'd use to protect a city's power grid, or, say, a children's hospital, can easily be reverse-engineered into a highly destructive offensive weapon. It's wild to think about, but our greatest shield is inherently our most dangerous sword. By making our defenses smarter and totally autonomous, we are creating technology that becomes a massive global threat if it ever falls into the wrong hands.
And then there's the utter legal nightmare of it all. Just ask yourself this. If an autonomous AI defender, acting completely on its own without any human input, takes a defensive action to stop a virus but accidentally breaks a critical system or deletes vital data in the process, who on earth is legally accountable? Is it the developer who originally coded the AI, the company that deployed it, the human operator who was off getting a coffee? Our current legal systems are, quite frankly, wildly unprepared for artificial intelligence that takes its own initiative.
Plus, we have to talk about the data problem. For these AI defenders to actually be effective, they have to ingest and analyze astronomical amounts of data, which inevitably includes sensitive personal information. Trying to balance this lightning-fast AI-driven security against strict international privacy laws, like the GDPR in Europe or India's Personal Data Protection Bill, is a massive tightrope walk. These security systems have to constantly scan for anomalies, but if they slip up and violate user privacy, organizations are looking at massive, crippling financial fines.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, the offense-defense balance.
All of this builds up to the ultimate, still unresolved debate of 2026. Does AI ultimately favor the attacker, or does it favor the defender? It's heavily debated. Some experts argue that because AI lowers the barrier to entry so drastically, attackers have the definitive upper hand. But others point out that AI allows defenders to parse billions of data points in mere fractions of a second, locking down networks in ways human teams never possibly could.
But you want to know the somewhat terrifying truth? Offensive and defensive AI capabilities are locked in a relentless feedback loop. Every single time an AI defender gets a little bit smarter and blocks a new attack vector, it essentially forces the attacking AI to evolve and find a new vulnerability, which of course forces the defender to learn and adapt all over again. What we are witnessing is a perpetual, hyper-accelerated digital arms race, and it is entirely playing out in fractions of a second.
So, what should you take away from this explainer? Well, the cyber battlefield has been permanently altered. As AI systems become simultaneously our greatest global threat and our only viable line of defense, we urgently need robust ethical frameworks, fresh research funding, and unprecedented global cooperation before these algorithms fully take the reins. Are we truly ready to trust machines to fight our most critical wars in the shadows? Because ready or not, the silent war is already raging.